After the murder of her husband, a highway patrol officer chases down his killer across the country, following the endless trail of dead bodies he's left behind. This is Psycho Killer, and to be frank, it's pretty damn terrible, so let's see if we can make some sense of it. Welcome everyone to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Tim.
Hail Satan.
This is a horror movie podcast, and today we are looking at Psycho Killer, a movie that came out earlier this year. I assumed January, but when I double checked it, it was actually February. I guess we'll trick the everyone's expecting a turd in January. We'll put it out in February, and no one will be the wiser. I think that was the plan. Not to share my thoughts on the movie yet.
Something to take your sweetie to on Valentine's Day.
Yes. I mean, especially if you're planning a breakup, but you're too much of a chicken to actually just break up with them. This will get the ball rolling in a sort of roundabout way. So, yes, we'll start spoiler free as we always do. We'll give you a warning before we get the spoilers. And if you're enjoying the show on YouTube, hit the like button. It helps out a bunch if you do. And you can support everything over at Patreon and help keep the show coming, get some bonuses, all that kind of stuff. But I'll tell you more about that at the end of the episode. So, Psycho Killer. A movie that I heard of. The title sounded interesting enough, and then very, very quickly the buzz around it had a bit of a scent, bit of an odor to it. People didn't seem to like it very much when it came out in February. Were you? I mean, excited is not the word perhaps in this context, but were you anticipating Psycho Killer? Were you dreading us having to do this? But where were you standing on this, Tim?
So I really did not know like anything about the movie, previously. Like I think we probably briefly mentioned it on our, 2026 preview episode, and then I was just kind of like, all right, yeah, just going by the title and short premise, it's just kind of whatever, can go either way. So I wouldn't say I was like super excited, and then I think even before like actual reviews started rolling in, I actually had a friend that went to like a screening, like a little bit before it came out, and I remember him very specifically just ranting about how bad it is, and and it's in a way where it's like, oh, like I wasn't interested in this movie before, but now that you tell me it's so bad, I'm actually kind of more curious about it. But then the more I would mention that, the more he'd be like, no, trust me, like that's not the way to go. Like it's not like a fun, bad movie. And I believe he had the detail because he went to, it was like, some type of like Q&A screening or whatever. And I remember my friend said that like a lot of people left before the Q&A started. And he said that as he was leaving, he saw some people that he assumed worked on the movie or marketing or something, because they seemed to be like people in suits and stuff that were like looking very like nervous and sad, like and talking to each other when he was leaving. So he's like assuming that they were like someone that worked on the movie or something. So I specifically remember that detail, but and then like you said, once it came out, the reviews were very harsh. But again, we do tend to have some fun with bad movies and train wrecks and stuff of that sort. So I wouldn't say I was anticipating it, but I was intrigued, and fingers crossed, I was kind of hoping for something that was so wildly bad that, there would be some, at least something interesting to talk about or something entertaining about it. So we'll see if it lives up to that.
We shall see. I suppose just to give the lowdown on it a little bit first. This is directed by Gavin Polone. Gavin has been a producer in movies for decades, but this is his first movie as a director. He did a couple of TV episodes, and that's it. So this is his first time directing a movie, so I guess keep that in mind. The basic premise is that there is a killer known as the Slasher, or what's the full title? I can't even remember. I just kept calling him the Slasher over and over again. But he is going from state to state, from the West Coast to the East Coast, and is killing people in each state. And it's kind of a spree, if you will. And our main character, played by Georgina Campbell, she gets involved because she is involved in an incident with the killer, and she is a cop, but she kind of goes a little bit, rogue to try and catch him. So it's kind of one of those movies in a lot of ways. And it goes places, I won't spoil anything here, obviously, but it definitely has a whole thing it does in the third act, which I would never have predicted based on the first 20 minutes of the movie. I'll say that much.
I was surprised by that, yeah.
So, hey, that's something. But that's the basic premise. Let's see how we felt. Tim, how did you feel about Psycho Killer?
Qu'est-ce que c'est? Or however that song goes. Yeah, I mean, it's utter shite. I mean, what else can you say about it? It is almost impressive how much it is. There's just such an utter lack of like atmosphere or like vibes or like whatever you want to call it in this movie.
I would like to paint a little picture here, my thought process during the opening scene or two, right? The opening scene, right? Because it starts
Peter
off.
Picasso.
It starts off. Am I not allowed to do a framing motion with my hands without a cheeky comment from you?
You said you're gonna paint a picture, so
okay, all right. So, the opening scene, we're clearly inside the car of the killer, right? We're getting like a sort of over the shoulder, looking out the window, and it's all very moody. And as he's driving down this desert road, you see a cop car off the side, and you're like, oh, that cop car's probably going to follow him, right? It's going to turn and it's going to come after him and do a routine traffic stop or whatever. And I thought for these, 30 seconds or so, I was like, this isn't badly directed. I'm expecting a turkey because people have been saying it's so bad. Yeah. But I'm thinking, this is well enough directed. There's a little bit of suspense of, the cop car's going to come after him and what's going to happen once he gets stopped. Is he just going to start going killer mode immediately? Is there going to be more of a build-up or whatever? But as soon as the cop, comes up to him, the killer rolls down the window. The second you hear the killer's voice, it's all gone. Any chance this movie is going to be good just flushes down the toilet because he's got this super generic, evil, modulated voice. It's like basically supposed to, I guess, kind of sound like a Zodiac type killer. It's like, it's like, sorry, officer, I need to look for my license. I can't even do it. I can't even do it justice. It does, like,
that's decent.
Yeah, but he's talking like that immediately. It's not like he has like a normal human voice that he's doing when he's just pretending to be normal for a second. He just talks like that the whole time, and no one ever questions it or thinks, yeah, this guy might be suspicious because he's talking like he's a mass murdering psychopath.
Yeah, I mean, if you could get like arrested on vibes alone, like this person, should be in jail for life. Like,
well, you can, Tim. It's just the vibes the cops are looking for aren't just, shall we say?
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, this guy's got like dodgy written all over him. Like he somehow keeps his face in shadows, no matter how bright it is. That's just movie trickery for you, I guess. But he does.
Yeah. It also feels like super regressive because it is just so like, all right, he's an evil guy. Like, what do evil people do? Well, they worship Satan and they like, the devil and hell. and it just like, I don't know. This feels like, I don't know, some like 90s or 80s or 90s, like, satanic panic kind of bullshit where it's just like, oh yeah, like, the bad guy, is just like has long hair and wears a mask and says Hail Satan and blah, blah, blah. Like,
it feels poorly thought out. It feels really rushed together and just a bunch of tropes. Like, I don't have a problem if you want to do a movie where the bad guy is like thinking that he's going to open the gates of hell by killing enough people or whatever it is, and he's seriously into that stuff. That's perfectly fine. You just have to present it in a way where you slowly bring us into it, and it's never stupid what he's doing, some of the Satanist stuff, or it just, because again, as soon as he opens his mouth and we hear the voice and the way everything plays out, from that point on, like, there's very little hope. And any like little moments of directing I thought were kind of decent in the first scene, like, those start to fade away as well. You start to just have these extended sequences of just like poor slow motion or CG blood. Because there's scenes in this movie that on paper sound like a good scene in a slasher movie. Like, killer walks into a room and does this. I won't spoil it, but he does this thing. And I'm like, well, yeah, but if it's all CG blood It's overproduced to the point where it's like one shot, and like every time there's like a strike with a kill weapon, it's like, you know, slow motion, CG blood bursting again in slow motion, so it's even more obvious than normal that it's CG blood. So it kind of robs it of any of the fun that you would have with a killer doing this type of sequence. It's just, you know, it looks kind of lame. So yeah, so it's not fun on a killer front. And then honestly, the rest of it's just your generic, you know, cop with a vendetta wants to go after the killer, so is going to chase him across the country and do investigative things. Do you like a research scene with a laptop? Well, you're going to get more than one of those. You'll get 3 or 4 of them just for good measure, to make sure you're getting your servings of horror movie research bollocks.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like utterly devoid of like anything interesting. I found it to be very boring and tedious and generic. So, I mean, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the big selling point of this is that, like, oh, it was written by the guy that did Seven. So I think they're trying to be like, oh, like, yeah, like, and I think that's very interesting because, yeah, like if you compare it to something like that, it does feel like they are trying to go for, you know, that type of movie, but you know, the big thing we're missing here is, you know, an artistic director like David Fincher who can, you know, take that and, you know, make it interesting. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you know, apologies to the director. I mean, it's his first time, so maybe he was trying really hard. But, you know, it never, like, you know, does anything to, like, suck you into the movie. I just always feel like, you know, they're just pointing the camera and doing what they need to do, and it just like I don't know, it just doesn't feel like creative or have any type of flair or anything to it. Even at times when it feels like they're trying to do something maybe a bit more interesting or whatever, I never, you know, felt compelled by it. Yeah, and it's a shame because, like you're kind of alluding to, it does get like pretty crazy by the end, but at that point I'm so, you know, checked out of the movie that you know, it's not really doing as much as I should be, kind of hooting and hollering for this big thing.
Which is it's a weird thing to say though, because I would say that it's on paper what it's doing is crazy, but it doesn't actually feel crazy as it's happening. It just kind of, you're so bored by that point, you don't feel the excitement of this wild thing, even like a fun bad movie way. It just feels like, oh, I guess we're doing this now. Are we almost done? Also, the script is terrible. Like the way this movie dishes out exposition or has characters explain things, or just hand waves why certain characters decide to let someone else do something, or you know, anything like that, is mind numbing. And probably the scene early on that really let me know how much of a piece of shit this was going to be is, so the main character, Georgina Campbell, and I felt bad for her because, you know, I think she's a solid enough actor. She's been in, you know, good movies and, you know, things like that. So, but she's here, and the start of the movie is that she's here. Yes, her husband gets killed, right? And they're both state or highway patrol or whatever the correct term is, right? So they're both state cops. Troopers. Yeah. And it's like, okay, she has this traumatic incident where her husband dies. And that's not a spoiler, that's literally the opening of the movie. It's her entire driving force for everything in the movie. So there's a scene where she's at like a mandatory therapy because she's went through this, you know, shooting incident. And not only that, I mean, I think you'd have to go through that anyway, but the fact that it was her own husband that got killed and she witnessed it is like, okay, right, she has to go to therapy. And I swear, the monologue from this therapist is one of the worst written things I have seen in a movie in years. The way he just sits there and describes her character and says, oh, you've got PTSD and you've probably got survivor's guilt. You're blaming yourself for your husband's death, but the outcome wouldn't have changed. And you probably feel this too. And you probably feel... And he just lists everything that should just be there in subtext, but he just spells it all out in such a way that does not flow. It doesn't feel like a way anyone would talk to a human being, therapist or otherwise. He just lists everything that her character is technically going through. And that's it.
I guess not like as extreme, but I mean, we never did the Human Centipede movies on this show, right?
Not yet.
Okay, yeah. I shouldn't bring it up because I'm sure some, you know, sick patron is going to be like, ooh. But yeah, in the second one is like weirdly meta because like about this guy who's obsessed with the first movie and wants to like recreate it. And then yeah, he has a scene with a therapist, and the therapist just goes like, "Oh well, obviously, you're this way because like you were abused as a child." Like he's just like, like basically it's like the same thing. Whereas he's just like, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna tell the audience right now your problem." Like
Yeah.
just like in a weird way, like kind of remind me of that where it's like, yeah. We get this.
Yeah,
we are also watching the movie.
It would be bad if he was revealing stuff that would have come out later in the movie, but the fact that everything he says is so obvious based on what we've already seen is just especially mind-numbing. I'm like, why are you spelling all this out? Especially since, because this is one of the biggest problems I had with the movie, actually, is just how constantly, despite the fact that what she's technically doing is wrong, right? In the sense that she's not supposed to be investigating this killer. And yet, at every single turn, it just kind of hand waves any consequences, any of the incidents she's involved in along the way. It's just kind of like, oh, like there's a section where she actually interacts with the killer and there's a big thing that happens. And afterwards, I'm like, it cut away to some other stuff for a bit. And I was like, oh, we're going to get like she's going to get chewed out by the FBI. She's going to get chewed out and told to go home and they're going to take her badge. So it's going to make her even more like of a renegade kind of thing. Like, which is still a trope, don't get me wrong, but it was the obvious route to take. And I swear, it just, the next time you see her, it just cuts to a library and she's doing research as if like nothing I'm like, she's not supposed to be investigating this crime. She's way outside of the state she actually is a police officer in. She's on leave, for one. She's not on this case. She can't just do this and have people just accept it. It doesn't work that way.
And I guess kind of similar to like the therapist, like you even have like news broadcasters that are basically like doing the same thing where they're like, oh yeah, this state trooper who witnessed her husband get slain by the slasher is actually investigating the murder even though it's not within her jurisdiction. It's like, again, we know this.
Yeah, it speaks down to the audience at every single turn it takes. And then, on the other side of things, the kills aren't particularly good. They're kind of shit, honestly, for the most part, because either the CG or there's not a lot of build up to some of them. There is one kind of darkly funny section which I can't even allude to before we get to spoilers, but there's like okay, you had the nugget of an idea here that could have become something special if you really wanted to make that what the movie was about, but you didn't. So it just ends up feeling kind of weird in a lot of places, but we'll get into that properly in the spoilies. But yeah, it's not good. Not good, Bob. Not good.
Yeah, and again, it's like the worst kind of bad where it's just boring and tedious. Like, again, I figured it was going to be bad, but I was hoping it was going to be so outrageously stupid that, we can come on here and make fun of it, but there's not really that much there. I mean, there's things to talk about here and there, but overall it's not like, oh my god, like it's so dumb, like watch it with some friends and laugh at it or anything. Like, it's nothing like that here.
Nah, it doesn't really have those qualities. It's just rough times. I mean, don't get me wrong, there is worse. It's not the worst thing you could ever see. It's not even because this movie does anything good. Like, maybe there's a couple of on paper okay ideas here or there or whatever, but for the most part, it's just because there's other things that are even worse. So it's not going to be, like I'm basically saying it's not a 1 out of 10, right? I don't want to reveal any ratings yet, but it's not a 1 out of 10. Right? I'll just say that. But it's it's not that much higher. So
yeah, and at the end of the day, it doesn't make me mad or anything. Like, I just I mostly am just gonna forget it, if anything. It's not gonna like linger and be like, oh, this is such a wasted opportunity, or oh, this thing was really offensive. It's just like, it sucked and I'll never think about it again.
Yes, you'll feel nothing. Nothing. Sure. So yeah, we probably get spoilers in because that's not, we don't want to tiptoe around this one. No one should care.
Sure.
You shouldn't watch it anyway. So spoilers for Psycho Killer, you have been warned. Okay, where to begin with this? So I guess just the killer's journey and what it turns out that he's doing. I guess that's like one, like just sort of like element to stay on, which is he's killing people it seems somewhat targeted at points, somewhat just random at others, where, oh, this person stumbled into his motel room, so he killed them, so that's why he killed that person. But other people, it's because, oh, he wants pills from this pharmacy, so he kills the person who works there so he can get into the pharmacy. And that's kind of that, right? But there's no real rhyme or reason other than that. It's just whoever can give him like a means to an end. Like, it's just like, oh, I need to get to this, so I'll kill this person. I need to get to that, so I'll kill that person. Which makes him not the most exciting killer in the world. Also, he sits and wears his mask in the motel room, which I thought was a little bit like, either have it on all the time, or if you're only going to have it on sometimes, then it made no sense to be sitting wearing it when he's just sitting in the motel room. But maybe that's a nitpick at that point. But
and again, just there's nothing about him that's like feels intimidating or like, you know. I guess the mask isn't like horrible, but it's certainly not okay, that interesting, you know.
I think the problem is that it just adding to the genericness of it all is that, like, oh, they cast a guy who's like 6'7". They made him have long hair. I'm like, okay, you're making me think of Michael Myers in the Rob Zombie version. Honestly, is kind of what you're alluding to here.
Yeah,
he's a big dude for you, you know. A little bit of that. But so here's something I really want to complain about, right? So. Okay. As she's chasing him across country and she's doing a bit of research, something that comes up along the way is that there was this massacre like 20 years ago at a church, right? And it was this guy named Reeves who did this massacre, and he was a Satanist, and he had all these symbols drawn in the walls. He killed like 13 people, blah, 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 right? And our main character brings this up to an FBI lady who's working with her. I want to talk about that separately. I've got a lot of thoughts on that, but it's like, oh yeah, this guy killed so-and-so people, but this is, not a copycat. This is not that. And the way they kind of just instantly dismiss it, I was like, okay, I'm assuming then, like, this killer Reeves was either killed on sight after he killed all these people by police, or maybe he's died in prison since, or, something like that, that he's dead, it can't be him. So at the end of the movie, after everything's went down, out of nowhere, the news reports just start saying, yeah, this guy Reeves was the killer. He's the slasher killer who's, he did all this 20 years ago, and now he's been going across country, killing people, and he tries to do what he does at the end, and we'll get to that. And I'm like, wait a minute. Wait just a minute. This guy was alive the whole time. And not only that, he was apparently in prison and must have escaped because he was in prison. And the reason why he's been going from the East Coast to the West Coast to the East Coast is because his prison was on the West Coast, and he was trying to get back to Pennsylvania to do some big stuff there. Mm-hmm. So when this comes up, that this massacre from 20 years ago seems like it's got a couple of relevant things that relate to these new killings. Like, the FBI don't know that this guy who's relevant has escaped prison, presumably at least a week or two ago, because he's already been on this spree going across the country. At no point is this ever brought up. And it's not like they're trying to say, oh, the FBI is keeping this quiet and secretive because they want it to be all hush-hush so no one panics, or they think it'll help their case, an investigation, if people don't know that he's the one that's doing this, or something like that. It's just never brought up. So it doesn't feel like an intentional thing where it's trying to hint at some motivations by some people, or there's something, corrupt going on or anything like that. There's no implication of anything. They just do not bring it up. So when they just bring up in the news at the end, oh yeah, it's this guy Reeves from 20 years ago, I'm like, what are you talking about? Why did the movie just hand wave him out? Because I thought it was going to build up to, oh, they were both part of the same Satan cult or something, or I don't know, whatever it might have been. But this made no sense to me, Tim. This was poor storytelling.
I'm very glad you bring it up, because I was actually going to ask you about this, because I was confused, and I kind of just assumed, okay, I was good and I was watching this, and I wasn't looking at my phone or anything, but I don't know, okay, did I still somehow manage to miss something? Is it so boring? Did some piece of information wash over me? Because the same thing, I didn't understand, okay, they're talking about this guy, and then I thought at some point they said that he died, so they're saying it's not him, but then they are saying it is him.
At least it's implied, right? The way they talk about him, it sounds like he's dead, but
yeah. So I had no idea what was going on, and it did annoy me, but then also I didn't care enough about the movie to be
sure.
like, okay, should I look this up to see, what I missed or what if they explain it or something. But yeah, it does seem like that would be a pretty important piece of information, especially considering the fact that he's going to hotels and using his name when he checks in.
Yeah, he's literally using his real name to check into motels.
And yet there's only one person that can find him. Like,
and every time she tries to tell the FBI, I think I found him, like, we don't believe you. You're just a woman. You're in a male-dominated workforce, which is something else the therapist said at the start. That was one of the things that really made me groan, is the therapist spelling that out. He's like, oh, you're in a job that's traditionally very masculine, and intimidation's a big factor, and you probably already have delusions or worries that you're inadequate in the job, and that's just going to be even heightened now. I'm like, Thanks, movie, for explaining everything she might be going. Joe was so great about Silence of the Lambs, right? It was so great when they stopped to tell us, a big theme of this movie is Jodie Foster's character, Cully Starling, is like struggling to make herself known and be a good agent in this world dominated by men, and how all the men look down on her and don't take her seriously. No, Joe, that movie did it. It did it with the visuals. It did it with her, like the simple thing at the start of that movie. She gets into an elevator and all the men are a foot taller than her, right? Simple visual, and it tells you right away she is like not out of her league, but like she's in a world where she's not expected to be there, right? Like this is an institution built around these other types of people and not her. It visually does that before it says a single goddamn word. This movie. Now listen in, audience. I need to tell you about sexism in the workplace. I need to tell you about the gender roles in society. I'm like, shut up, you piece of shit. Anyway, I need to go to.
I mean, I'm sure there's like plenty of people that probably like watch movies and go like, that I could probably do that if I ever tried or and I don't know. It just goes to show you like, yeah, like it does. There's actually like a lot of stuff that you don't think about. Like you can't just, all right, I got the script, I got the actors, let me just point the camera at them and make it. It's like, no, like there's things that, you do as like a director and a storyteller to convey these things, without having to constantly spell it out and, like look down at the audience and, say this and that and stuff. It's like, no, like there's, all these examples of much better directors and stuff. Like, yeah, they don't need to give you these exposition dumps or whatever, because, instead they, have an eye for these things that can, tell the story in a way that, yeah, you convey the information, where it's like, you watch something like this, and again, it's just so nothing. Like, yeah, it just doesn't have any of that like artistry or
Oh, for sure. Whatever. But here's the thing. Usually when you complain about exposition being wonky, it's usually like, well, this information is important. We do need to know this. It's just that they weren't creative in how they convey it to us, right? That's something that comes up a lot in movies that have bad exposition. This is a more severe case where the things that it's given as exposition on are stuff that we don't actually need to have told to us or spelled out. Right? It's needless exposition, which makes it especially egregious. So, yeah, that stuff is rough. So like it does that throughout the movie in various ways. So the other thing, I guess, is that his big plan towards the end is that basically it's like, oh, he's going back to Pennsylvania, what's going on there? And I shit you not, like 2 minutes before the realization happens, that there's a radio show talking about 3 Mile Island, and I'm like, that's a weird thing to put in when we're like 20 minutes from the end of the movie. But would you believe it, a minute later, like, our main character's on the roof and she's looking around because she knows he's in this town, and she looks over and sees the nuclear power plant, and she's like, oh no, those explosives that he's got, he's going to try and cause, this is him opening the gates of hell, he's going to try and cause a meltdown and take out like the state of Pennsylvania. And I'm like, you know what, in another movie I might be excited with this crazy plan that he's going to try and cause a nuclear bomb to go off effectively. But yeah, this was like, okay, whatever, too little too late.
Yeah, it should be so much more exciting than it is, because yeah, a Satanist trying to blow up a nuclear power plant to open the gates of hell. Like, I mean, that's where the movie should start. Like, that sounds super fun. But yeah, here it's just like, you know, it's a soggy carrot at the end of a pie. You know, it's not
a soggy carrot at the end of a pie. Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Okay, picture a pie in your head, Tim. I want you to picture a pie. What would you define as the end of a pie?
Like the bottom, like, you know, the last.
Oh, the bottom. Okay.
Yeah.
So the last bite. Okay, so when you get to the bottom, it's the last bite. Okay. Because you know, a circle typically has no ends. That's what makes it a circle.
Yeah. Yeah, like I mean, at this point, you've already eaten all the yummy bits, all the gravies, and the, you know, the meats and all that stuff. So all you're left with is just like, a little, you know, piece of dough with a soggy carrot, and then it's like.
It doesn't sound very appetizing, I admit. Yeah, you don't like a soggy carrot. I agree.
No.
I agree. So jump over to Jane, Georgina Campbell's character, right? Who witnesses her husband get shot. I thought the introduction of her being like the wife was really weird, because she kind of just pulls up after her husband's already pulled over the killer, and they're basically saying, "Oh, I'm heading home. Oh, I love you, honey. I love you too." I'm like, okay. So they're married. All right, this was a really quick. I mean, it was quick to way to tell us, but it was also like maybe we should have seen them like have more of a day together than a couple of scenes before, you know, this happened, because it feels like, okay, we just found out they're married and then like boom, 5 seconds later he's dead. It was a little bit, you know, on the rush side, dare I say. But yeah, her whole journey in this though, which is after the bad therapy session, which I've already, you know, pulled to shreds, is she talks to her father, who tries to talk her out of going on a hunt to try and find the killer. But he understands why she's doing it. It's kind of a nothing scene. It's whatever. You get why it has to be there. But she goes traveling, and the first thing she does is she goes to like the FBI office in whatever city is relevant. And she goes in, and she just kind of overhears the guy in charge of the case talking to some of his like other agents. And she's like, "Oh, are you in charge of the slasher case? I'm Trooper so-and-so, my husband was killed, could I just, like, you know, shadow you for a couple days?" And I'm like, he better say no, because this is, like, highly, like, you know, not unethical per se, but, like, you know, there's a reason why cops aren't supposed to investigate crimes that they themselves are involved in or are the victim of.
Sure.
Right? That's a thing for a reason. So the idea that she would go above her food chain, if you will, and go into the FBI and say, "Hey, can I just like be your partner since I'm personally involved?" Like, I'm at least pleased the movie had the foresight for him to be like, "No, that's not legal. Go home." Right? And I get that it sucks, but go home. Right? But of course, there was another agent there, a woman who kind of like looks at her all sympathetically, and I'm like, okay, so this is going to be how she gets information. And I love how this woman, this Agent Collins, comes to see her, right? She phones her and says, "Hey, meet me at a bar," or whatever. And it's like, "Hey, you know, I could get into a lot of trouble for showing you anything." Screw it. Opens the laptop. And I'm like, that's it? That's how you're hand-waving this character, helping a stranger she does not know, is to just say screw it. Like, I think the movie's trying to do like oh, you know, I'm a woman in a male-dominated, you know, workforce as well. I recognize that you're kind of being spoken down to. I want to help you on your investigation. However, I think the problem is, though, is that, like, I don't think anything the FBI guy said to her was based on, "Oh, you're a woman, go home." It was very much, "No, you're too close to this case, and you're not supposed to be investigating things outside your, you know, district, right? You are a cop who has a jurisdiction. You don't do across state line murder sprees. That's literally out of your job description." So no, like, he's not overly mean about it. Like, maybe he's a little condescending, but like what he says is making sense. And then this character's just like, screw it. Here you go. Here's crime scene photos. Here's everything we know. And this is why, even if you wanted to argue, "Oh, maybe we just don't know that he's escaped from prison, this guy Reeves, because the FBI aren't going to tell her that, even if they all know." But this agent lady, she's telling her everything she knows, and she doesn't ever bring this up. In fact, she straight up dismisses this Reeves guy when she brings him up. She's like, "Hey, this killer 20 years ago, look at this. Look at the drawings at the crime scene. They match this motel room you've taken me to that the killer's been at." And she's like, nah, we know about that. We've looked into it. There's no connection. And I'm like, the FBI just look incompetent in this movie, because they're just wrong at every single step of the way, apparently. So yeah, that's phase one. Is hey, this miracle character from the FBI just wants to give her everything to help her on her way. When maybe it might have actually been interesting to see how she tries to do this investigation without that resource. Where she has to actually try and piece things together herself. That might have been more interesting potentially, but we'll never know.
You're saying you don't want to watch the 3-hour director's cut where it really dives into that?
That would literally be double the runtime, Tim. That sounds awful.
Yeah. Even though this was only 90 minutes, it was still very painfully slow. And then I especially got mad because I was like maybe 15 minutes away from the end when I had like a short internet outage at my house, and I was streaming it, and I was like, oh god damn it, like I'm so close. I just want to finish this thing. Now I have to wait, even longer to get back to it. So that pissed me off. I mean, I don't know. There really isn't like much other like interesting stuff. Like I do want to. It did kind of make me laugh. The hotel scene when.
Just to set this up, she's basically tracked him down. She's went to the city she thinks he's going to, and she just goes around all the motels. There's a montage of her talking to all these motel managers, like, hey, if you see someone matching this description, he's alone, he pays by cash, blah blah blah. And she just happens to go into one where the guy's like, oh wait, there is a guy who's here on his own, and he gave the name Reeves. And she's like, what did you say? Reeves? That's the killer from 20 years ago. So she stumbled into finding the killer, and she goes to the motel room herself. Now, she does tell the guy at the desk to phone the police, sure. But she goes to the room herself with her gun out and has a confrontation, shall we say. So please, yes.
Yeah. Oh, no, I mean, yeah, honestly, the confrontation scene, like, I didn't ever really care that much about it. It's all the stuff that leading up to it that was making me laugh. First of all, I don't know, the guy behind the desk like just seemed like kind of weird. He just had like this kind of like almost like suspicious like look to him, where it's kind of like, is he like in on it or something in some way? And yeah, it almost felt like comedic the way like, he she would ask him a question and he would always be like, oh yeah, no, I don't know anything except, and then like, he'd give her like a little clue, and then like, yeah, I mean, I wasn't here last night. Okay, well, thank you. But we do have a book where people have to sign in. Oh, great. Can I look at it? Yeah, but it was only couples. There was no one that was by himself. Oh, okay. Except this one guy that was by himself. Oh, and his name was Reeves. And I was just like, oh, Jesus. Like, and again, it makes it seem, yeah, it makes the FBI seem incompetent, because it's like, yeah, like they said something about how they were alerting motels and stuff around the area, but then it's like, yeah, it's so obvious he's at this one place, and like, they couldn't find it. And then even her, it's like, it doesn't necessarily make her seem like a good detective or anything. She just kind of stumbles, onto it. But yeah, it was so stupid that, yeah, it kind of made me laugh. And then I guess this is probably supposed to be like a big tense scene, but again, I did not really feel like any tension as she's like slowly approaching his room. And
the actual fight feels kind of neutered, because she's not in danger, at least not yet. Maybe at the end of the movie she'll be in actual danger of dying, but it's daylight, the killer's just kind of waiting to pounce out at her, and he does, like, because part of me, because I genuinely thought at this point it was going to be a fake out, because I thought she's told him to call the cops, they're going to get here, but it's going to turn out to be a false alarm for whatever reason. It's just a single guy named Reeves. Complete coincidence. She's chasing a ghost. Keanu, who knows? I feel like they'd have noticed the name Keanu in the books, unless he just put Mr. Reeves, perhaps. Maybe he's laying low. He doesn't want to get too much attention, you see. Being famous is tough, people. But like this fight between them, where he knocks the gun out of her hand immediately, and he just kind of like picks her up against the wall. She's able to kick him in the nuts or whatever. It just feels so basic. This guy has been killing people immediately, every other character, But as soon as we get to like the main character confronting them, so all of a sudden it's like, no, I'm going to just strangle her against the wall so she's got a chance to escape. Like, people complain about that in like horror movies a lot, that the main character has like plot armor. And normally it doesn't really matter to me, or I care about it, because I honestly, I think the suspension of disbelief's usually just at a nice amount where you can just go with it, it's fine. But here it actually felt like he was deliberately just doing everything differently because it's the main character versus how he tackles other people. Like, she should have nearly died in this scene, and it feels like she got maybe a little bit of a, you know, a bruise and a cut. She got thrown out the window, sure, and I guess because the cops are arriving, he just runs to his car instead. But it felt very strange for him not just to, because he grabs his shotgun on the way out the door. Like, why wouldn't he just blast her as he's walking off? Because he's had that kind of attitude with every other kill scene that he's been in. So consistency, people.
Yeah. Also, like, I mean, I know she's like on this quest for vengeance and everything, but it's like, you can't wait like, you know, what, 5 minutes or whatever for backup. Like, yeah, if she would have waited for a few more cops to get there, like, then, I mean, they probably could have like taken this guy, you know?
Yeah, very possibly. It's kind of funny though, because this is the moment where I thought, oh, she's going to get chewed out because she attacked the killer and he got away, and she's kind of like doing this off the books. She really shouldn't be like flashing her badge to get things in this other city or whatever. But like I said, the next time you see her, because it cuts to whatever else for a minute, and then it cuts back to her and she's just at the library researching, because one of the things she saw in the room was like a classified ad in a newspaper. Basically, the killer put an ad in the newspaper with a code in it that other Satanists might be able to decode, and then she's able to figure out where he's going next because of that. Because sure enough, this leads us to our next big section of the movie, which is, yes, a Satanist decodes this thing from the newspaper and calls, puts another message back in so the killer gets a number to call after he decodes it. And she also figures out this code, which leads us to the same city. But basically, it's like he's looking for help because he needs to find a person, and he wants other Satanists to help him, right? So the killer's looking for help to find someone. And this guy on the phone, who's clearly like a bit of an emo Satanist guy, he's just kind of like, it's like a hobby for him or whatever. He's like, hey, yeah, you can come and help. And, you know, our master, he'll help you up. So we're going to get Malcolm McDowell in a minute. So that can, I guess you can be excited for that, because he'll show up in any old crap. But it's like, yeah, come and visit the house. So we get this really weird sequence where our killer, our slasher movie style killer with a mask, he takes off the mask admittedly, he just has the hood up with the long hair. But he goes into this mansion that's owned by a Satanist and has like his like Satanist friends, and he sits at a dinner table as they're just all talking about Satan and stuff. But this is clearly like more of like a club effect. It's like a club where they like to get high and drink and say nice things about Satan. That's basically it.
He's like hardcore, and I think he thinks that like they're posers. Like,
oh, the killer, you mean?
The killer, yeah.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Oh, of course, yeah.
It's like, yeah, if you know, someone's like, oh yeah, like, you know, I love comic books. I've seen, you know, every Marvel movie or whatever. You know, kind of roll your eyes like, okay, like, oh, so you don't actually read, you just watch the movies. Like, all right, you don't really, you know, you don't have the faith, you know.
I mean, that's yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I think that's a bit of a whale comparison in this instance, where he's looking around at them and he's clearly judging them as they're just taking cocaine and they're doing whatever else, because ultimately you can tell that he's going to kill all these people before he leaves, but he's holding it in for a bit because he still wants this information of where this guy is. It turns out he doesn't know the name, he just needs to know the person who does this particular job and where he lives, and it turns out to be like a guy who can get into the nuclear power plant. That's what it turns out to be later. But he kind of waits around, and as he's getting this information, like, Malcolm McDowell and his friends basically all take acid and start to have an orgy. So we actually get these poor young actresses who have to, like, I mean, they don't actually physically do anything with Malcolm McDowell, but there's an implication that she gets full frontal and then leans back with a crucifix as if to be like, okay, we're going to have weird Satan sex now. So the killer, once he gets the information, goes out to his car. The one guy who's been helping him get the information goes out to say, hey, you should say goodbye to everyone before you leave, blah, blah. Even though this guy's clearly not that personable. But basically he's like,
It's
there you go.
I guess like even though he's a Satanist, like good manners are very important to him.
Of
it's
course.
Like, you have to say, you didn't even say thank you or goodbye.
But he realizes who he's talking to. He eventually realizes you're the slasher killer, blah blah. And he's like, oh, they're all pretenders, but you actually helped me, so you can leave now. But I'm going to kill the pretenders. And he walks back in with his gas can and an axe, and like. This is the thing that frustrates me, because again, this is what I was saying earlier. If you told me there's a scene in a movie where the slasher style villain walks into like an orgy, right, where people are actively having sex and they're completely naked, and he just starts swinging his axe at them whilst they're in the middle of having sex, and you tell me that, okay, so one guy's getting a blowjob and like he just like axes the girl on her knees, and then the guy looks down in slow motion and then he gets axed, or then like the axe like is going down on the couple who are like they're in the cowgirl position, and the guy like pulls down the girl to sort of block the axe from himself. I'm like, that's darkly kind of funny. Like
that's funny, yeah.
Yeah, there's something there. But the problem is though is that because it's all in one shot and it goes into this ultra slow motion, the CG blood is so obvious. Now, obviously, they're completely naked. It's hard to do physical trickery when you're naked, right? It kind of has to be CG at a certain point in that situation. A way you could get around it, of course, is like you can still have prosthetics that look like part of the human body. You could do a bit more camera cuts to try and sort of like get into like the prosthetics and out of the prosthetics and stuff to make it all look convincing. But they wanted to do this one shot of it getting into slow motion and out of slow motion as he's walking around the room. And eventually, the one girl gets down on her knees and kind of begs with a cross, and she gets axed in the neck. And then eventually just walks up to Malcolm McDowell and axes him in the head, and then starts to set the place on fire. And that's, that's the scene. On paper, that sounds like a fun sequence. It sounds like another version of a big scene from that Silent Night, Deadly Night remake that was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
But here, the way it's captured, the direction and every choice they made of how to capture it, made it kind of lame. Barring that one funny bit where the guy shields himself with the girl, because that was just kind of this selfish little dick move that just kind of was like, and in the heat of the moment was slightly amusing, so fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much else to say. Like, it on paper, it should be a wild, fun hoot, but yeah, as you're watching it, it's just, again, it just feels like lifeless. Like, there's nothing to it, really. Like, I mean, I guess compared to the rest of the movie, it's maybe a bit more entertaining, but it's just because, the rest of the movie is like,
It's definitely got the most interesting concept of the movie, is that our Satan, the serial killer, is at a group of Satanists, but then slowly realizes they're just kind of in it for the party lifestyle, and they're not really believers of bringing Satan up and opening the gates of hell, and then he's going to kill them all. Like, you could do a whole movie out of that premise, and it might actually be quite fun. I think because it was trying to do the typical slasher movie thing for a while first, though, where, could we even talk about their kill scenes? He kills a woman in her car, whatever. Like, they're not that memorable. But because of that, it felt weird to put him in this situation, whereas if this was more what the premise of the movie was supposed to be, and then having him slowly, like, kind of, you can tell that he's going to kill all these people because they're not true believers or whatever, that's actually potentially entertaining. But, it's such a relatively small segment of the movie, even if it is like a full 10 minutes. And as well, because this entire time, the main character's off camera, right? We don't see Georgina Campbell for a good 10 minutes here until the killer gets like a sixth sense. Like, I think they want to imply that he sees like the glisten of something, but I don't really know how he could see the glisten of a rifle scope hitting the window, right? That felt a little bit far-fetched to me. But he basically puts his mask on a stick and holds it up to the window, and sure enough, a gunshot goes through it, and it reveals that Georgina Campbell's already there, and she's like, in wait. And then she runs up to try and catch him, but he leaves off in his car, and he basically runs her car into a ditch so he can get away. And I'm like, okay, so this is the second time they've encountered each other, and he's been on the defensive and ran away, and she's just kind of failed to get him. And at this point, I really started to feel frustrated, because I'm like, nothing she has done so far has made any impact on this guy's journey, right? He's just kind of like tossed her to the side both times and went on his way. It's making the main character feel like she's been very ineffective and not actually affected any change. She's being proactive, sure, because she's the one doing the hunting, but she's not actually like pissed him off by throwing his plans off, or like making him like have to change course, or I don't know, or even have like a close call where she almost wins or anything like that. It's like just like nothing feels like it's happened as a result of this chase yet.
Yeah, I mean, again, in theory, this sounds like something that could be a bit more interesting because, with most horror movies, we're usually following, the good guy, and then, they're doing their thing as the bad guy or the slasher or whatever is popping up. So, yeah, the idea of like, oh no, like let's follow the bad guy, and then we're seeing it from their point of view, trying to escape this person who's getting interfering with their plans or whatever. Like there's something to that idea. Again, it's just here, it's just you don't care about like the characters at all. Like it's not a tense game of cat and mouse. It's just kind of like, yeah, this character's doing something, and then this character's gonna pop up there because she just does. Like she's able to find them, and I don't know, it's just never like interesting or engaging like at all.
They give you a reason for how she found the place. Like she called the FBI lady and said, "Hey, I've got a phone number.
That one, yeah.
Can you give me the address for the phone number?" So we know how she got there, but it's not like, again, it's just the magic FBI lady can just give her anything she needs, and that's what will get her to the location. And it's not even like I'd cared that much about how she got there, to be honest. Like it's more just about like it should feel like more of an actual like fight between them when they do actually like meet up like that, and instead it just kind of feels like, oh, within like 30 seconds he's already gotten away from her and nothing was accomplished. It's making our main character, who we're supposed to be rooting for, feel like she's not even affecting anything. And then when again the FBI do show up this time and sort of like demand some answers from her, she just yells at them and then that's kind of it. Like she's like, oh, I know about this, I care about this, I'm hunting them down, blah blah blah. Like there's really nothing to it. It's dear. So, and yeah, from that point on, it's like, yeah, the killer goes and kidnaps this guy who works at the power plant, makes him sneak him inside, and he goes in, and again, Georgina Campbell realizes, oh, he's going after the power plant, 3 Mile Island, he's going to sort of recreate that and make it even worse by blowing things up, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, I mean, again, like, it feels like because he sets off a grenade early on, it doesn't even feel like her showing up to warn the guards that someone's get inside and is going to do something bad even matters that much. The only thing that really affects anything that she does the entire movie is the very, very last thing she does to the killer, which is she's the one who actually, shoots through a hole in the plexiglass and puts the sniper rifle through the hole so she can take a shot at him before he sets off everything. Because he's made the guy, mess with the controls so that the meltdown is imminent and the reactors are vulnerable. And then he's going to use a grenade to set off all the dynamite he's got strapped to his chest. And she basically just shoots the grenade. Even though the pin's out, she shoots it out of his hand so it's across the room so it doesn't trigger the dynamite. And that's it. There you go. Stay saved. And honestly, all I could think actually is the way this last 20 minutes plays out. It's not really the last 20 minutes of a horror movie. It feels more like the last 20 minutes of an action movie, right?
Oh,
this is the sort of thing that an action villain tries to do at the end, and the hero has to get to them and stop them in time.
I mean, yeah, no, I totally agree with that. It feels like there should be more to talk about here, but I mean, you pretty much summed it up in a minute. There's not really much else to it. He goes to the nuclear power plant. He's, trying to, they get the hostage guy putting in the stuff, and then she basically comes in and shoots him. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, he kills a couple of randos in the way, people who walk out in the hall. He kills them, but that's about it. I did laugh though, because see when she has the realization that, oh, the power plant, when she sees it and she's looking around town, she sees the reactors. She has this little flashback to when she was in the motel room with all the drawings and stuff on the wall, and there was three sixes and sort of a triangle pattern, and in her mind they merge into the Fallout symbol, and I'm like, wait, what? That's stupid.
And then, but he doesn't actually die, because then the last scene is them taking him back to.
Well, here's more confusion, Tim. That in the news reports, right? Because we see she has a nightmare sequence where he shows back up and she wakes up from the nightmare, right? So we do that trope. We get that right at the end. We get the wake up from the nightmare jump scare. Which, to be fair, the movie's not really had jump scares up until that point. That's the one thing it didn't do that was, typically in bad movies, but it does it right at the end. But the news reports say, oh, he was killed at, 3 Mile Island. But there are conspiracy theories that he did survive. And I'm like, okay, that's an interesting thing to say. And then, yeah, the last scene of the movie is we cut to like the prison bus going towards this prison in the middle of the desert in Nevada. And I was just sort of going, what? Why is it conspiracy theory? Like, did the authorities lie to the press and say he was dead for some reason? Why?
Yeah, like, I was curious. Again, like, I don't know if I missed something, but like, it almost makes it seem like, I don't know, the government is using him or something, like almost like they let him escape because they want him to do this chaos or whatever. Like, because I don't know, like it doesn't feel like just a normal person, that they're just like locking up or whatever. Yeah, like it ends in a weird way where it's like, yeah, we think he's dead, but some say there's something else going on, and then like you have like, they're taking him, to like Task Force X or something. Like he's gonna become some like government operative. I don't know. It's very weird.
I mean, it actually cuts to black, like on the bus just driving towards the prison. Like that's a big deal. Like, why is this exciting? I don't understand why this is the moment you cut to black on at the end of the movie. I don't get it. It does feel like if they are trying to imply some bigger thing here, I don't understand. I feel like the movie didn't actually do enough of a job to allude to anything, right? It just feels like there's parts of the writing missing one way or the other. Yeah. And even if you're saying, oh, sure, yeah, they're trying to imply that there is some sort of conspiracy here and they let him out for some reason, or I don't know, whatever the case is, it feels so poorly set up and paid off that I'm not even sure if that was the intent. And if it was, they did a horrible job actually showing me that. Like the storytelling here is atrocious. When it is funny that there's things like this that are unclear, because the movie started with the movie over explaining everything about the main character. So it somehow has both extremes where some things are over explained and then other things make no goddamn sense, or just feel like there's missing pieces of information that, presumably might make it make sense. But as it is, all we can really do is speculate, because it does not make sense at the end at all.
No.
So, also, one thing we didn't mention yet, because it does not matter and never comes up in the movie, the main character's pregnant. She finds out halfway through the movie she has a pregnancy test. Sure. And you're thinking, oh, I guess this is going to be something where she's maybe going to like consider not chasing the killer because she doesn't want to harm the baby, potentially. She's hunting for tuna. Kind of thing, but no, it never really comes up in any real way. There's like one joke where she's in a diner and the waitress sees the book about like expecting a child, and she's like, oh, congratulations, and then the camera like pivots over to like a book on Satanism, and she gives her like a sort of side eye, and I'm like, okay, you tried to do a little joke there. But the only time the pregnancy comes back up is in that dream sequence at the end where she's like got a crib ready before the killer jumps out and she wakes up. So it's like, okay, yeah, her husband lives on in a small way because he impregnated her before he died. It just feels like another trope for the sake of a trope, It's like, if like, I don't know what the equivalent is for a guy, but I feel like it's a very tropey thing to like make your female main character pregnant when she's doing something dangerous, just to give you this idea of like, oh, life afterwards, there's a hope for a better tomorrow kind of thing. But sure. Yeah, what a crock of shit. The whole thing's a crock of shit. The killer's lame, we said it at the start, but the voice is terrible. Every time he talks throughout the entire movie, it sounds stupid, it sounds try-hard, and will only make you roll your eyes.
It feels like it seems like what a mother from like the 70s thinks someone that listens to rock music would look like. It's like oh, he has like long hair and he worships Satan and he has this deep voice and stuff, and it just like there's no like nuance or anything interesting.
Hey Tim, you bring that up, but that's actually a plot point, is that a lot of the things he writes on walls is actually quotes from a band that he likes,
right?
Because the band wrote songs inspired by the killer and that he did 20 years ago, and a lot of their songs are based on that, and they actually pose in front of the church that he killed people in as one of their album covers. And this is another thing that basically goes nowhere. It's something she brings up to say, hey, I'm on the right tracks, look at all this stuff. And they just dismiss it, and it never becomes important. It's never like, oh, the music's going to be a factor in the end in some way or anything like that. So again, just something else that doesn't really amount to much other than just, here's a bunch of red herrings because we're pretending to be like a thriller with like an investigative side to it.
I mean, what else is there to say? It sucks. I wish there was like more, at least fun or outrageous things to talk about. But again, this is just a really big bowl of nothing, honestly. Like, I mean, that's one of the worst things to say about it.
Oh, for sure. The closest it gets is when he goes to the Satanist house and they're all just a bunch of drug addicts who like to talk about Satan and have orgies. Like that's like verging on, oh, this is getting into silly fun territory, but it never quite actually goes over the line into it. It just kind of teeters on it for a brief moment, and then it never kind of gets close again, sadly. So, hey, Psycho Killer sucks. You've been warned. All right, Tim, let's rate Psycho Killer out of 10.
I mean, to me, this is a pretty easy, solid 2. I mean, I don't know. I really don't have many good things to say about it. Like, the reason why it's not a 1, and is you brought it up earlier. Like we've seen worse, and there's at least a basic, level of like, well, the camera's pointing in the right direction. I could hear what the people are saying, so. And like I said before, at the end of the day, it doesn't make me mad. So for those reasons, I'm not going like bottom of the barrel. But I mean, again, I can't think of like really much positive stuff here. Like they're just again, like I never really felt engaged or interested by the story. I just think there's like a very basic lack of like artistry here to make you want to continue looking at the screen. Georgina Campbell is a fine actress, but she doesn't really have a lot to do here. The killer is stupid and lame, and again, I don't know, like I don't like all the like, ooh, let's be scared of Satan kind of thing. Again, it just like reeks of like Christians being afraid of like rock music kind of thing, and yeah, I mean, maybe there's a bit here or there where like I laughed a little bit, but it's not like a continuously funny bad movie where things are so outrageous that you're laughing. So yeah, there's really not a lot here to recommend. Sorry.
Yep. I was waffling in my head between a 2.5 and a 3. That was kind of where I was feeling it, just because there is worse.
You like those 30 seconds?
No, it's just like there's at least some concepts that could have been good.
Sure.
It's, I don't know. There's just stuff that's made me angrier, I guess, is what it comes down to. So it's very, very bad, but it's not the worst thing ever. I guess I'll be a coward and say 2.5 because it's a bit more, I think, representative of how I feel. So, there you go. That's Psycho Killer. Average of 2.25. What a score. So, next time on Screams After Midnight, we're in such a low point after Psycho Killer that we have to try and lift our spirits up. I know what'll do it. Lee Cronin's The Mummy. That'll surely put us in a better mood. So that's what's coming next week on Screams After Midnight. You can, of course, support the show over at Patreon, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. Get access to the back catalogue of bonus episodes. You get access to the even more Scream segments we do most weeks. Just little fun horror conversations. We'll do a little top 5 or something like that. Or talk about some news thing that's happened recently if there's something worth talking about. But that is most weeks on Patreon or via YouTube membership if that's a more convenient option for you. But yeah, thanks to everyone who supports us. It really does make a difference and help keep the show coming. But that is pretty much us. That has been Screams After Midnight. So thank you once again for joining us. We do appreciate it. Keep watching scary movies, and we will see you next time.